Hey everybody, welcome back. Today's class is going to be a walkthrough and breakdown, all the things that I do to warm up for Pincha Mayurasana or for forearm stand. For this class, we'll be using a strap. Also, you could use a band. This is one of my bands that snapped in half, so I kind of prefer it this way. Shout out to one of my students last week that broke it. We're also going to use some blocks. And when we get to the main part of the inversion and into the back bend, you can just do this in open space, or if you feel a lot safer using a wall, I always recommend having some wall space available. Some of the drills we'll use a wall. So we'll be going through some of those things. All right, let's get started laying down. And we're going to begin with some lower body warm up. So feet are hip width distance, arms are down by your side. Let's curl the spine up and off of the floor and come into a bridge position. Really work your tailbone length here. So coming into that posterior tilt. And then roll yourself back down to the floor. Good, let's repeat this 2 more times. Good, now let's go up again. We're gonna hold at the top here. It's not your highest bridge pose by any stretch of the imagination, but again, we're going to work our way to there. So let's start with some bridge pulses. So you're gonna lower just a little bit and then press back up towards the ceiling. Let's go for about 10 to 15 of these. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1, roll down. All right, now we're gonna go for some more height here. If you want, you can work through a chest expansion grip and even walk the feet a little bit closer. So we'll press into the feet, lift and elevate, and then start to walk your shoulder blades closer together, clasp your hands, interlace your fingers, press the palms together, and really try to elevate here. Good, if you wanted that extra bit of height, you can come up onto your tippy toes and even walk it closer. Great, if you're really comfortable in this clasp position, maybe even try to reach for your heels or for the front of your feet. So lots of height, lots of activation here for 3. Last 2. I'm being joined. And 1, bring it all the way down. Hi, Pi. Now hug your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little rock from side to side. Open up your hips. Reverse. Love taking these butterfly circles. And then I always love to go just for a happy early baby. Now we'll keep the knees out nice and wide, and I like to go for a nice and early happy baby. So soles of the feet towards the ceiling, capture the outsides of the feet, your ankles, pant legs, whatever you got. Now try to lengthen out through your spinal column. So think about accentuating your lumbar curve here up and off of the floor. Even though you're flat on your back, just think back bend, lift and engage. Last 3. Good, last 2. And 1. Let's bring the knees in towards your chest. Fingertips into knee pits. Let's take some rocks and rolls. So up and down the length of your mat. Good. We'll meet ourselves up into a boat position or Navasana just to get our hip flexors turned on, just to get our core turned on. Hello. Even better if you can go no hands. Want to go no hands with me, Pi? All right, hold that contraction, hold that space. Last 3. Last 2. And 1. Bring your hands down onto the floor next to your body. I'm going to scoot back so you can see me. There's not a cat obstructing the view. And we're going to lengthen out the legs with an inhale breath. And then exhale, pull in. You can also do this with no hands. Good, we got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Can we hold that low position? So hollow body shape. You can also take the arms up and overhead. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. All right, we'll hug our knees in towards our chest one more time, and then we'll rock all the way through into a tabletop position. All right, now we're going to start just with some basic cat-cows. So this is a very yoga-centric warm-up. So knees are right underneath your hips, shoulders are right underneath your wrists. I want you to lengthen the heart space forward. We're going to hold this position. That doesn't mean we're holding our breath. We're just holding the shape. And I want you to feel like you're pulling the heels of the hands back and trying to slide the knees forward. Maybe if you have a super thin mat, you might actually start closing your mat up, but we want to try to stay in place. Good. Now round and contract. Chin towards your chest. Push away from the floor. Again, inhale forward. And exhale, round and contract. Let's do this 3 more times. Good. Now, the next time you're in a contracted position, I want you to hold. Maintain what the shoulders are doing. This is called protraction, but I just want you to neutralize your tailbone. Good. Try that a couple times. Just isolate, tuck your tailbone. Isolate, tuck your tailbone. Good. All right. Come to a neutral position in that tailbone. And then we're going to do scapular push-ups. Now, in our scapular push-ups, there's no bend in the arms at all. All you're doing is separating and closing the shoulders together. Hi. Thank you so much. Thanks for the encouragement. A little cat encouragement is always welcome. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's hold that separation again. I know it's a lot of protraction work. Just spiral the arms external to internal. Everything else is locked in, right? You're just rotating the elbows in the shoulder socket, or rotating the arms in the shoulder socket. So you're just rotating the arms in the shoulder sockets. Nothing else is changing. Good. 3, 2, and 1. Take a kneel. Take a boop. Shake out your arms a little bit. Great. All right, so we made our distinctions between our internal and external rotation. We warmed up our scaps. Let's get our arms a little more open. You can do this with a stretchy band or with your static band, whatever works the best for you. We're going to shoulder floss. You can also do this exercise standing if you want, but I'm just going to stay kneeling. So we're digging the arms up and over. I think she thinks it's playtime. Get it. Get it. Get it. Good. All right. Now, the next time you bring your arms back forward, let's roll up the hands until you're in like a good shoulder width distance or just to the inside of it. Yeah. Since I have a band, I can do a little bit of push on this band. Okay. Now I want you to try to maintain this position in the body and just start to elevate the arms. Take it as high as you can without changing the arm position, and then bring it back down. You can also bring it kind of down by your side. Let's repeat that 4 more times. It's a lot of shoulder. 3. Good. 2. Finish off your last one. Really nice. All right. Release yourself from your binds. Let's release our shoulders now. I'm going to take my hands behind me, lengthen out through the arms, and then hinge forward in my hips. Stretch out the shoulders. Again, you can do this from standing. So you're just in your chest expansion, forward fold. All right. Let's bring ourselves back up, and then we're going to make our way into a downward facing dog position. Sending yourself back. And from this downward facing dog, we're just going to take a couple breaths, wiggle things out a little bit. We're going to head into our hips next. Shoulders are warm. Okay, let's step our right foot between our hands. And we're going to grab up both of our blocks. You can do this without blocks, but I really do prefer to do all of my lunge work, at least in the beginning, with some blocks. All right, and let's floss back and forth. You can go at your own pace with your own timing. Good. Now, as you're starting to feel more open, perhaps your blocks work back and you start to actively lift the spine more. You start to fold deeper towards the leg. Lunging is like a really boring and kind of unsexy part of the warm-up, but super essential. Good. Now let's hold ourselves in this lunging position. And you can do a couple of things while you're here. You can just stay as is, really work your lift and your elevation. But since we are doing legs, I want us to try to challenge that hip flexor space a little more. So you can just tuck your toes and lift up the knees. You can even press into the top of the foot, lift up the knee if you want to just get more ankle stretch. Good. Let's lower the left knee down, lengthen out through your right leg again, and then let's take an elongated hold down into your half split position. Good. Let's walk ourselves up. We're going to slide our right heel forward, coming into a 3/4 split. We're not going to go into a full split today just because this is a really brief warm-up. But for everybody, what I want you to do here is focus on your posterior tilt through the hip. Good. Focus on your glute activation behind you. And you can stay here with your fingertips on your blocks or work into a balanced position. Good. Last 3. Last 2. And 1. Bring the hands back down. Rebend into your front knee. Let's tuck our back toe. lift up the back knee, and we'll walk the blocks forward and elevate the left leg. Good, let's get into some more glute activation. Left heel lifts. Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the left foot down. And let's get into our second side. Quick and dirty. All right, lunging positions. And it's time to floss. Let's go back and forth. Also know that it's not necessary to do a super long warm-up, especially as you start to just innately have these skills. But I like to take a longer warm-up because it just means that I'm going to feel more comfortable when I'm working the skills. Perhaps I'm going to be able to go further, hold longer. So if that's the exchange, I'm willing. Now again, just like on the other side, as you start to get more warm, incorporate more difficulty. Push yourself. All right, let's come back forward into the lunge. And either you're going to hold here with a very active glute, with a very active hip. You can tuck your back toe, try to lift your knee without compromising where your torso was. So that doesn't mean that you came up, right? You can also press into the top of the foot, work on your foot point, work on your lines. I really like this one, but it is challenging. Hold 3, hold 2, and 1. Lower the knee down, lengthen through the left leg. Let's get into a little more depth here. To me, having warmed up hamstrings is so essential because it makes kicking up so much more comfortable. All right, let's bring it up. Let's get into our 3/4. Slide forward, walk the blocks back. Now I'm focusing on still feeling nice and tall through my spine, very active through my back glute, very long through my hips. Good work. All right, let's walk our blocks forward. Rebend into your front knee, tuck your back toe, lift up, and then let's walk forward and go into your elevated position here. Gluteal activation, we'll start with the pulses. Try to take it from your glute space, yeah? Good, 3, 2, and 1. Release the foot down. Great. Now we're going to get into an essential position for your forearm stand, and that is dolphin position. I'm going to strip a layer so that we can really see the anatomy working here. Okay. So one of the things I like to teach, I'm also going to take my socks off because having good foot positioning, super important. So one of the ways I like to teach dolphin pose, especially because people tend to collapse the hands in and slide the elbows out. So in an effort to prevent that from happening, I like to look down, turn my palms face up, and then slide my hands together and out. Now the flesh of my forearms is what's moving, yeah? Now, once I have slid my forearm flesh and muscle to the inner, like the inner center line of the mat, then I turn my hands down. If you're still not feeling locked in after that, it might be your mat feels a little slippery, so maybe like a towel or something a little more grippy can help. All right. Once you are there, shoulders are stacked over your elbows for now. We'll tuck our toes and send our hips back. So it's like you're in a downward facing dog, but just your forearms are on the floor. Now, this is where potentially the arm starts to change. There are some ways to help with that, but first, let's just go over what we're trying to do. Think about sending your shoulders back. Think about knitting your ribs together. You can micro bend your knees if you need. Hold for 3. Hold for 2. Good, and 1. Relax. All right, now if the hands are still coming together, if the elbows are still sliding out, a solution you can use is taking a block, pressing it between your hands so that the L's are wrapping around that block. From there, if you're still having the issue of the elbows separating, you can take, I like to use basically a booty band. I don't have one right here, but I can grab one as soon as I say hello to Pi again. All right. So strength of that band, again, up to you. This is my heavy band. So I can take that band, wrap it around my elbow area, right above. You can even do this with the block and then work from here. There's the potential that your head is going to hit the band, but to me, it's not a big deal. It's just something to contend with. Great. Now, an awesome strengthener from here are our dolphin push-ups, shifting forward and pushing back. Let's try for 5 of these. Nicely done. Take a break. For friends that are having no problems with their hand and arm position, my challenge for you is to work a floating elbow position and then a pike push-up, okay? So hands down towards the floor, walk the feet in a little bit tighter, and then push into the hands and try to float the elbows off of the floor, but hover them just a couple of inches. Still try to keep the elbows in the same position, the ribs knitting in. Hold 3, hold 2, and 1. For your pike push-ups, we're going to start this one from a downward facing dog. I'm not the best at these, but they are incredibly helpful for having the right positioning and building strength. So we want to walk our feet closer together and stay high onto our heels. I'm also walking my feet together. I'm going to look forward, slide forward slightly, bend the elbows, and then push back. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, just a couple notes on some of those exercises we did. I did them looking back towards my feet. Something that I talk about in a lot of my inversion workshops is that, where you are looking in inversions is very important. But also when we have ourselves looking forward, so our cervical spine is in a curve, the rest of the spine tends to follow naturally. That's just how we work. But when we take our head into a more neutral position, it allows us to really focus on our spinal length and our anatomical alignment. Yeah. Now, when we go into our pincha next, either in open space, and then we'll also work on the wall after we just do some open space practice, you're going to notice that, there's a lot of tendency for banana back and not finding straight lines. Yeah? Okay. Let's try for it, shall we? We'll start with just some hops, and then we'll try for some holds. We'll go for straight line up and down first, and then we'll start with into some back bends, okay? So again, we have that same procedure to feel locked in. Make sure your space is clear. I've got lots of pointy things around me, but I feel pretty confident doing what I'm doing. All right. Push into the floor, feel the shoulders separate, push back into your dolphin position. Now pick a leg, whether it's your weaker side or your stronger side, hold that leg up. You can stay right here. This is totally where you can stop today as well. Or bend the bottom leg and try for some hops. Again, we don't have to be perfect on these ones. We're just getting it in our body. We're building the confidence. To me, forearm stand is honestly a lot tougher than doing handstand because there's something so locked in about being on your forearms. All right, let's try the other side. Tendency, you started with your strong leg. Now you're starting with your weaker leg. That's okay. Lifting up the leg. Really work those shoulders. Bend standing leg, hop. Nicely done. All right, let's do some wall drills and then we'll call it a day. So if you did that drill against the wall, that's great. That's super smart. We're actually going to take this drill facing away from the wall now. To me, kicking up is a skill on its own that is still very difficult for people. So this next drill where we're chest facing the wall actually takes some of those difficulties out. So we'll walk ourselves back. And I want us to just kind of take a moment and measure our leg distance away from the wall. We want to be close, but not too close. All right. Get into your position. Lift up like you're in your dolphin. I've got my heels on the wall from there. And then I'm going to walk my feet up the wall. Now, what I love about this is I can really work the shoulders and chest pushing back. And I can also kind of take the mystery out of the spinal stack by just looking to the back of the room. Nice. Now from here, you can lift up a leg. Good. Return a foot to the wall. Lift up the other foot. And let's return down. Give your shoulders a break. It's tough work. All right, now an essential part, and this is kind of the scariest part, right, of our forearm stand, is having to shift forwards in order to actually balance yourself, right? So in this next round of the same exercise, when you lifted your leg, if you didn't feel like you could take off from the wall and stay in balance, then let's get much closer to the wall from there so that we can actually work towards a stack and start removing feet from the wall. All right. So I'm going to come right about here. I think this will be right. Also, no, you might have to just adjust. This just fact of life of exploring stuff on the wall. All right. Now, once you get your leg up, start to push off from the wall. And you can even just flex the foot. Like I've got my foot off the wall. Flex. Maybe you come into a stag position or two bent legs. Re-extend, attach to the wall, and come back down. Let's do the other side. I'm just giving my shoulders a breather. Lift. Walk up. Left leg lifts. Stag positions. Reattach foot to wall. And come back down. Nicely done, guys. All right, now we'll go for one last pincha and then we'll be all done. On this one, we're going to now face the wall. And if you're feeling good, you can start to work towards your back bended positions. Yeah. So that can just look like kicking up, walking down a little bit. That can also look like working towards a block goal. So sometimes I like to take my blocks, stack them up at the center, because typically our feet are going to try to work towards the center. We'll go for one more. This is a really great way to build our proprioception. Now, proprioception is just awareness of your body in space, which is, you know, a pretty easy skill for us when we're standing. But once we're upside down, it's like, I actually don't know what my body is doing. So this is a really nice awareness drill. Okay. So it's going to be my aim to just tap my toes onto that top block. And then I'm going to try to peel off my blocks. Also, finding the right distance here can be a challenge. There we go. Found the block. Gonna switch. And find the block. Great. Now, if you're just practicing your kick-ups, go for it. That last one was difficult for me. All right, for this one, just because I know myself, I'm going to set a realistic standard here. I'm also going to probably hit the wall and then just try to crawl my foot down. Just because I'm not the bendiest babe. After this, for sure, my shoulders are toast. Okay, one more. Is that a spider. Wow, it sure is. Okay. Me and the spiders. I was actually telling my husband last night, I was like, what's it like being with a human spider? All right, guys. Take a little moment. Reset your spine. Sometimes I just like to take some kneeling cat cows. Very normal to feel pretty sore in your shoulders after a session like this. So you can work some more of those shoulder flossers. All right. I hope this was helpful, instructional, made you feel a little more confident in trying your Pincha Mayurasana. Again, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you guys next time on your mat.